Okay, I'd like to call to order the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, October 2nd, 2023. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gaffino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis. Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar. Here.
All right, audience comments. Trustee comments. Okay, item 1 under discussion, Steve.
Thank you. Item number 1 under discussion tonight is regarding Randall Terrace. It's a subdivision for an apartment complex that was already approved. The developer has some changes that they would like to propose, and they would have to go through a full zoning process. But instead of going that way, we typically go through a concept review first with the board to see if it's something the board is willing to look at. It kind of gives the developer a heads up and says, you know what, you're going to go to plan commission, but the board may not be in favor of certain aspects of this, and you might want to tweak that before you go. With that, Nathan's going to walk us through what the changes being proposed are.
Sure. So just a brief history on the Randall Terrace project. It's located off of Miller Drive to the west of the Goddard School. The property was originally approved in 2001 with B2 zoning. In 2021, it received a PUD amendment to allow residential development on Lot 2. And then in 2022, there was a minor amendment approving the updated building elevations. So that would be the last thing you saw for them. The site work, since that approval, the site work has been started, but the building permits have not yet been issued. The approved plan has 4 buildings and 75 units. There are 4 3-story buildings. The plan has 150 parking spaces, which meets the code requirement of 2 spaces per unit. There's a clubhouse and a central kind of park open area, green space there. The developer, next generation developer, represented by Jim Hughes, has approached staff about making another change due to the higher costs and higher interest rates causing trouble with getting the project completed. They are requesting that a 4th story be added to the rear 3 buildings. So these 3 buildings here. Adding the 4th story would add 21 units, 7 units per building, bringing the total up to 96. The site plan would stay the same. However, it would have to go back through for an amendment because this would require several new code exceptions. These would be to increase the building height from 35 feet or 3 stories to 4 stories and 47 feet, decrease the required parking ratio from 2 spaces per unit to 1.56 spaces per unit, and increase the floor area ratio, which was listed in the original PUD as at 0.47 to 0.58. The developer has provided some information in your packet about various other apartment complexes around the Chicagoland area. A little hard to see on the screen, but basically looking at not only the number of spaces per unit, but the number of spaces per bedroom. The developer is proposing that 82% of their units would be 1 bedroom and only 18% 2 bedrooms. And they're suggesting that because it's more 1 bedrooms, there should be less people with 2 cars per unit. So they are requesting to go down to the 1.56 per unit. To do that, we'd have to have a new public hearing at the Planning Commission, a new PUD amendment, and grant those code exceptions. But before they went in through all that process, obviously also have to redesign their architectural plans. They wanted to get some feedback from you, and I'll have Jim come up and just add a little bit on the project costs.
Good evening. My name is Jim Hughes. I'm are the ownership with Next Generation, and we own and are the developer on this site. I appreciate you listening to what we have to say, because this is kind of rather unique coming back to see you after we've gotten everything done out there. But very candidly, with the interest rates, cost of construction, labor shortage, and everything else, it has completely demolished the financial pro formas here to get to model this thing to make it work. So we're looking to add the 7 units per building for the 3 big buildings. It would be a simple, just 1 more floor on it. It's not a huge, I mean, it's an expense, yes, but the infrastructure's there to do this. So we felt it would be a smart move to get the additional 21 units. As Nathan alluded to, I know the parking is a concern. That's why we went out and hired KLOA who are the gold standard for traffic study, parking studies, et cetera. And that's also why we went with the one bedroom den, and 2-bedroom units. So we only have 18% of the 2 bedrooms and the rest are all ones. So we feel very comfortable and confident that we will have a successful project there. We've got a lot of money invested in it to this point already because all the infrastructure is in. We would like to have consideration to come back and go through the system here that we need to go through to add the 21 units. That, and maybe you could lower the interest rates. That would be helpful.
I would just like to say that, you know, we have building codes for a reason, and that is to establish uniformity throughout the village. And I'm not a big fan of issuing variances for things like building heights and parking, because I think we do need to maintain that uniformity throughout the village. The second thing is, I understand your issue with the rising costs of interest and materials. However, I'm also willing to bet that you've also factored that into what you'll be asking for rent as well.
You're totally right. And I don't mean to jump in, but I can't raise the rents to cover what
But
the
the
interest
market
rates.
right now, I'm in real estate and I've seen what's been
Okay.
going on in the rental sector. And I don't think we need to loosen our standards when we know your rent is going to be withheld within the market, even with the rising interest. You guys aren't going to be directly paying the interest. It is going to get passed down to the tenants. So I'm not in favor of, you know, having these big 4-story buildings, and then we would have to, our new elevator ordinance. I mean, I think this is going to be too much at once.
Just and Nathan, I would ask you to correct this or not, but there are other 4-story buildings out in the area out there.
So the project at Randall Commons, the mixed use building, is that?
That's 4 stories. That's
I think
Dermody's.
that's only 3.
You sure?
Yeah.
I think it's 3 stories on top of commercial. And then you have the hotel.
They have parking on.
Then you have the hotel there. That's 4 stories too, I believe. Whatever. I just like the opportunity.
I'm kind of with Laura again on this one. I don't think we should dumb down our standards. So I kind of like the idea to keep it conformed.
I'm not a fan of taller buildings to begin with, in the town specifically here. There's some single family homes just to the west of there that I know would not be happy with that, so I wouldn't be in favor either.
Yeah, I'm actually a homeowner in that subdivision west of there, and being a resident there, it wouldn't necessarily affect me, but I definitely agree. I don't think
Yeah, because
homeowners
this
would like
doesn't
that.
abut any single family, to my knowledge.
What's that?
I said we don't abut any single family there. The single family is farther.
Just on the other side of the pond there, it's single
Yeah.
family.
So what does, I'm not particularly familiar with exactly where this is. What is around it?
You know, the vacant land there on Randall right now, right behind Aldi and all that.
Oh,
That big-
okay.
it's
Okay.
just to the
Okay.
north of
And we're
that.
next to the self-storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm already speaking, I'll just go ahead and continue. You know, I really do agree with the rest of you. When I saw the 4 stories, I really wasn't in favor of that. I didn't know exactly where it was, but I knew that residential, you know, homes were nearby. And I think that 3 stories is already pretty high when you're looking from the first level out. And I was not in favor. And because you know, all the rest of the apartment buildings, as far as I know in the village, or at least since I've, you know, been on the board, are all 3 stories. So I'm not in particularly favor of raising it. And, you know, you talk about the cost to build, but you're talking about adding more cost onto the building,
Well,
which ultimately then you have more units to then make up in rent. And I assume that that's the idea, is to add more units. So down the line, you get more rent to pay off the cost to build it. I assume that's the strategy.
as I said, it's completely destroyed the financial modeling of this.
You know, I actually had a very hard time hearing you for some reason. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I don't know. Is this on?
I think so.
As I said, it just completely destroyed the financial modeling with the 75 units.
Here.
So that's what I'm faced with. What do we do? Do we just sit on it? Do we sell it? Do we try and do something that makes it work? And that's what I'm trying to creatively come up with here. If anybody else has another idea, I'm more than happy to listen to it. But as I said, it's just the financial modeling is just upside down.
Mike? Anything?
I had my own reservations, so especially in terms of the neighborhood out there and some of the existing homes and what they might think about it. That would be my big concern about going with 4 stories, and as well as what Laura said about our codes. I don't think we should adjust those too much because I just don't think a big 4-story building is going to be very attractive at all out there in terms of the neighbors. So I'd be against it as well. So.
Yeah, I agree. My first look was the parking because just down the ways is bulldogs and stuff, and people parking. I'm not sure what street that is that runs behind it, but you're adding 24 more units or 21 more units, and you're cutting the parking down. I mean, that's, you know, as much as, yeah, certainly we like you to make money, do your thing. You know, we have to live in town, and you know, we have to, you know, I guess be proud of what goes in there, and then, you know, cutting parking spaces and adding, you know, another floor to make it profitable for you or better. Unfortunately, you know,
it's not really to make it
well, to make it work. I
to
think
make
you
it
just said,
to make it feasible.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah, not profitable.
Maybe it's not the
feasible.
right thing for that property then, you know, I mean. So anyway, I think yeah, we're in consensus. So
All right.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Nothing else for discussion?
That's all I.
All right, no exec session tonight, so motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, have a good evening.